Welcome to Nightmares and Grief, a place to explore and celebrate the darkness. Each episode, I'll read stories written by me, Derek Heisey. So settle in, check under the bed, and pour a drink for the skeletons in your closet. It's time to start. A Clean Slate. I didn't get the job. I know, because it had been a few weeks since my interview. You know, the guy was so enthusiastic throughout the whole thing, so I know I didn't blow it. I know exactly what caused it. The internet. No matter how far back I go, no matter how many tweets I delete, no matter how many accounts I scrub, no matter how many comments or videos I remove, I can't erase the stupid mistakes I've made online. What did this guy see? Did he manage to dig up some old posts from an ancient account? Did he see an errant reply on Twitter? Had someone re-uploaded one of my old videos and had it gone viral again? Was he able to link me to a crusty, defunct meme account on Facebook? I couldn't escape it. I was marked. The job I was in paid all right, but my boss knew I was behind the eight ball. Jane was the first person who'd ever done a Google search of me before hiring. When she did, she knew she had me around her finger. She even told me once, said it was a routine check that HR had run on everyone, but that was probably only partially true. She probably just Googled all her employees. But I was the one with a profile, a dossier. I was the one with the problem. A few months into hiring, she told me she needed me to work late, needed some spreadsheets completed, and it would be a huge help. I didn't think anything of it at first. The next week, she gave me work I knew was hers at lunchtime around Friday. It took me the whole weekend. When that ploy worked a handful of times, she started getting me to pick up her dry cleaning. She kept pushing and pushing the boundaries until she ran me ragged. She didn't once tell me why she decided to mess with me like that, but she didn't have to. I knew. She often cornered me alone in the break room and laid down a quiet hint about what she knew or found some quality of mine to sneer about. Against me, she knew she was bulletproof. Alan, my sometimes drinking buddy from accounting, told me to take it to HR, but I knew it wouldn't go anywhere. Best case, they look into it, find the same thing Jane had, and then fire me. Worst case, Jane would know that I narked and make my life a living hell. You know, some people joke about the FBI and their internet histories. I love dead baby jokes and Helen Keller jokes, but I don't make jokes about my internet history. I was raised in a family where you don't joke about things that are serious. I had enough of being the office whelp, getting pushed around and being denied other opportunities. I shouldn't be continuously punished for mistakes I've already paid for, so I looked into some of those internet scrubbing services. The first one I tried seemed perfect. They'd remove my information from the internet and then continue to monitor different databases to ensure that my data wasn't floating around. It was pretty cheap, too. I couldn't believe I hadn't thought of it before. But a few interviews later, I realized that there was only so much that they could do. I got to a second round of interviews, but I wasn't able to push through. No calls. I realized that it must be coming up in background checks somehow, like these companies were paying extra to have my internet dirt dug up. Anonymity was a thing of the past. I shuddered to think what they dug up from my high school and college days. If ever there had been a more egregious troll on the internet, I would have made him cry. So I canceled my subscription to that service, glad I resisted the temptation to pay for the whole year and dug deeper. I didn't trust any of them now, though. I didn't trust they could scrub away my past completely. I considered paying for a private investigator to see what they could dig up on me and then fix the problems that way, but I didn't have that kind of money, nor the kind of time it'd take to clean everything up. No, it was better to find another company and try again. That's when I found them. Erasure Solutions. They guaranteed 100% deletion or your money back. Zero internet footprint. No trace at all. A clean slate. I wanted that so badly. A clean slate that when I saw the price tag, which made my mouth go dry, I still kept searching anyway. They had a payment plan. Everything has a payment plan. They'd finance their exorbitantly expensive service over 5 years. I couldn't believe it. With that kind of setup, the monthly payments were totally doable. I figured, what did I have to lose? I could get a better job and pay it all off easier. The sign-up process was pretty grueling, though. There were a lot of forms to e-sign. I tried reading the first few. They were all about giving the company permission to delete anything they found about me online, but man, the language was so dense and the text so hard to read that I gave up. I figured they must all be about the same thing, right? Permission to delete me. I started signing on faith by the third one. Once the final document was e-signed, I got a confirmation email congratulating my decision and thanking me for choosing Erasure Solutions. They said it would take up to a week to see the full effects, but that I should start seeing results in a few hours. I texted Amy, my girlfriend, and told her about it. She seemed kinda weirded out. "Doesn't it seem too easy?" she asked me. "How do you know it's not a scam?" She made a good point. I hadn't sought out reviews because, truth be told, I was sold the moment I read their promise. I was so desperate for a change that I accepted it as true because I wanted it to be true. I didn't have anyone else to turn to. Amy said that she understood, that she was sorry that I felt that way to begin with, and that she hoped it worked. I got a job offer the next day. The call came in when I was supposed to be drafting spreadsheets with project liabilities, something Jane was supposed to do. They offered 10% more than I was making, and I wouldn't have that creep treating me like a slave. I almost accepted before they finished giving me all the details. I was proud I managed to hold back. The challenge came in remaining stone-faced for the next 2 weeks. I texted Amy and she agreed we should celebrate that night with dinner. I decided not to worry about putting in my notice that day. I could give it when I turned in the liability spreadsheet. A couple of lame, stick-it-to-them lines floated through my head as I fantasized about how I turn it in, but ultimately when the day was done and I packed my stuff up, I decided it was best to do it plainly. No point in rocking the boat so soon to departing. After all, who knew what Jane was capable of? I had more pressing things on my mind. Dinner with Amy was foremost on that list. After work, it took me a little while to get ready, so I arrived a little late, but when I got there, she wasn't there. I asked the host if she'd shown up, describing her for the woman, but she said no one with that description had come. Outside the restaurant, I opened my text to her. The whole chat was empty, like there was a glitch that had deleted them all. I texted her, "Where are you?" I waited 15 minutes without a response. "Are you okay? Is everything all right?" This time, I got a response almost immediately. "I think you have the wrong number." My head spun and nausea blossomed in my gut. Is this Amy Strauss?" She hesitated, but then I saw the little awareness indicator dots move. Her text said, "I don't know how you know my name, but I don't know you. Stop texting me." I went home, dazed, confused, and heartbroken. I drafted up my 2 weeks' notice before going to bed. At least I had a new job to look forward to. Maybe Amy would explain what happened tomorrow. I had tomorrow to make things better. Things can always get better tomorrow. The next day, I was prepared to leave my 2 weeks' notice with the spreadsheets I was finishing for Jane. I figured I'd bring everything to her at the same time so I didn't have to worry about awkwardly returning later in the day. I ran into her in the break room first, though, and my heart thrashed for a moment. I wondered what demeaning task she had ready for me today, or what snide jab she was ready to drop. But she walked right past me as if I didn't exist. Standing there frozen in awkward shock must have emitted a disturbing aura because she looked up in my direction, did a double take, and offered a paltry, polite smile. Jane had never smiled at me, even before the blackmail. My gut fell out from under me. Did she know about the job? Should I have told her sooner? Was she going to tell the new company about me as a final parting gift to her favorite punching bag? My face flushed hot and sweat beaded under my collar. I took deep breaths to calm myself down. I was being ridiculous. If there was an issue, they would have called me. They'd already made the offer. Maybe she knew and the weight of it all was finally bearing down on her. Maybe she finally had an opportunity to think about what she'd done. But then I came to let her know I emailed the spreadsheets and turned in my letter. Amanda, Jane's secretary, asked in the sing-song she reserved for strangers and clients if she could help me. I smiled and waved, pushing through the door as I explained I was just dropping stuff off. Jane gave me a baffled look when I came in. I told her that the sheets were done and that I wished I could say it was a pleasure working for her, but it absolutely wasn't. I placed the letter on her desk and thanked her for the opportunity. Her face was laced with a confusion which bordered on fear. With halting speech, she asked me who I was. I reeled, taking a step backward. I couldn't believe that she would pull something like this. She had to know. This was some exaggerated way to tell me that I was dead to her, dead to the company or something, some final twist of the knife. I narrowed my eyes and asked what she was playing at. I asked her what she was talking about. She grabbed the phone, punched an extension with the end of her pen, and asked for security to escort me out. I didn't even get to clear out my desk. I drove home to my apartment in embarrassed confusion. I couldn't believe Jane would stoop that low. I texted Amy, but she didn't text back. After dinner of microwave leftovers, I went to bed and watched YouTube videos until I fell asleep. I just needed to make it through a few weeks until the new job started. Just a few weeks and everything would be better. The next day, I was sitting on my couch in an open bathrobe eating a bowl of Fruit Loops when I heard a rattling at my door. It was the lock. It sounded like someone was picking the lock on my door. I hastily set down my cereal and scrambled to my feet, barely closing the robe before the front door opened and my landlord barged in. "What the hell, Chuck?" I exclaimed. "You've got to give me notice before you come into my apartment." My landlord looked around, astonished. "What the hell is this stuff? How long have you been here, you miserable squatter? How'd you get in?" He held out an arm to block the prospective tenant approaching behind him. "Squatter? I've been paying rent here for 7 years." "The hell you have! This place has been empty for a week." My head spun. That's how long it'd been since I signed up for Erasure. It had to be a coincidence. Look, wait, I pleaded, feeling the walls were suddenly closing in around me. Look, I'll show you. I'll show you my rental agreement and the rent, okay? Just wait. I tightened the belt on my robe, more to give my hands something to do than actually needing it. I went to my computer and started pulling up my email. "Look, buddy," groaned Chuck, crossing his arms. "I run this place. I think I'd know if you'd spent any time in this apartment." I ignored him. I opened Gmail and it didn't log me in right away. I tried signing in, but it said the user didn't exist. Cursing under my breath, hands shaking, I snatched my phone off the coffee table and opened the app. Blank. Empty. No emails. "All right, bud. You've had your moment. It's time to clear out." "I'm not leaving. I've lived here for 7 years. And I'm calling the police." The police gave me until the next day to get my stuff out of the apartment. Chuck, they said, graciously declined to press charges. They said he just wanted me out. They said they thought he was more embarrassed that I could have been staying in the empty unit with as much impunity as I did without getting caught. Just before they left, one of the cops hung back and said he'd catch up in a minute. He stayed back with me and asked how I did it. How I'd stayed here like this. I told him the truth. I told him I'd been living there for 7 years. He shifted uneasily from one foot to the other. "It's weird," he muttered, "how lived in this place looks. It's weird how the place has been vacant for a week and the landlord doesn't remember who lived here before and can't find any records of them. For how long? I don't know. They just started looking into how long. For about 7 years." I ran my fingers through my hair and sighed. "But," he continued, "it's also weird that you don't have any records of living here. You've lived here how long?" "For 7 years," I muttered. "Yeah, it's weird." He crossed his arms and offered a paltry frown. "You got until tomorrow. Good luck, pal." I was able to snag a U-Haul at the last minute and was up all night packing my stuff. What didn't fit in the U-Haul just got left. I figured they couldn't come after me for it if they couldn't even figure out who I was. I was so busy I didn't even have time to tell my folks that I was on my way to them. I hadn't told them about what had happened this past week. It's just too surreal, and it didn't feel right to tell them until I knew what was happening. But I had no choice but to tell them now. I had nowhere else to go. I arrived on their doorstep a little while later and hoped my mom had some fresh bread. When I saw her a few weeks ago, she'd gotten into a baking frenzy. Hopefully it was still ongoing. I needed a little bit of comfort. I went around to the back door, which was usually unlocked, and announced myself as I entered. "Hey, Mom, have I got a story to tell you?" From the kitchen, a bowl shattered onto the floor and my mother screamed. I rushed in, my gut falling out from underneath me as I prayed she was okay. This week couldn't possibly get worse. My mother screamed again when she saw me. Amidst a messy kitchen, standing before a pile of sifted flour and ceramic shards, my mother brandished a chef's knife in my direction. "I don't know who you are or what you want, but you need to leave now, sir." The wind rushed out of me. My jaw dropped. "Mom, I don't know who you think I am, but I am not your mother. Please leave." My voice caught in my throat. Mom. She lunged forward, slashing the knife at me. I stumbled backward into the wall, knocking a picture frame onto the floor. It was a family photo, one that I remembered from years ago. My dad had gotten some deal for portraits online, and my mom was so excited that she dressed up for it. We even brought her little black chihuahua, and I let her talk me into wearing a sweater vest and tie. I knew it was so important to her that I didn't complain once. But I wasn't in the photo on the ground. My dad was, and so is Sammy the Chihuahua, but not me. My mom lunged at me again, swiping the knife with a roar I didn't think she was capable of. The blade kissed my arm, slicing the shirt sleeve and opening the flesh with a bright streak of pain. I cried out, stumbling back again, and then raced for the back door while my mother pursued me with the blade raised high above her head like a madwoman, screaming. I tumbled out the door, nearly tripping on the stoop, and I sprinted back to the U-Haul. She stood in the driveway, shoulders heaving with exertion as she watched me drive away. My guts were scrambled jello. What was going on? How could my own mother not recognize me? And why wasn't I in the photos? Inevitably, my mind drifted to Erasure Solutions. Their promise: we'll erase you or your money back. How could they erase me from my landlord's records, my girlfriend's memory, my family photos? More importantly, why? What was in it for them? I pulled the U-Haul into a hotel. The attendant asked if I'd had a rough day, and I told him he didn't know the half of it. He gestured at the U-Haul and asked me if I was moving. I swallowed and said sort of. Went ahead and asked for a week. I could figure this out, get to my new job, and end this nightmare by then. The attendant took my debit card and swiped it. He said it was declined. I furrowed my brow. Payday was just last week. There was no way I busted through my money that fast. I passed him the credit card. That one didn't work either. I scrambled for my phone and opened my banking app. It was set to a thumbprint lock. Fingerprint not recognized. I wiped off the screen, but deep down I knew that wouldn't help. Fingerprint not recognized. Quaking inside and out, I held up a hand and apologized to the attendant. I don't really know why, but I think it had something to do with how my cheeks burned and my head spun. It seemed like the only appropriate thing to do at the time. Then I got back into my U-Haul and drove away. I didn't really know what to do. I didn't really have a plan. If my bank account didn't work, I didn't know how I was going to pay for food or shelter, so after an hour of driving aimlessly, mind drifting in the white noise of shock, I went to a pawn shop and sold most of my stuff. The guy could tell I was desperate, so I think he only screwed me on the Xbox and the TV. I was grateful for that small relief. I returned the U-Haul and transferred my remaining stuff into the car. It was late, and I was hungry, so I got food at McDonald's and took it to the park. I didn't get out of my car. The park just seemed too exposed. I just needed someplace to be. As I drank my Coke, I disconnected and stared at the leaves of a tree flitting about in the wind. It was just too much to process. I had no idea what to do or where to go. Someone knocked on my window. The sudden noise made me jump, and I almost choked on my soda. Peering into the passenger side window was a handsome man in a sharp black suit wearing a haughty grin. "How you liking your new life? Did we deliver?" I furrowed my brow and flapped my mouth a few times. The man chuckled and nodded as if he understood, as if it happened all the time. He reached into his suit and passed me a business card. Walter Robosa, Erasure Solutions. I took the card and inspected it. His name appeared in shiny, embossed letters that reminded me of tiny beetles. When I tilted the card towards the light, the letters disappeared. How did you find me? Nobody even knows who I am. My own mother attacked me, you son of a bitch. Walter chuckled again. Well, it's all in the documents you signed. You wanted total erasure, and we provided it. On that note, there is the small matter of our fee. My eyes went wide. I can't pay. You guys locked me out of my bank account. Walter smiled, head tilted half expectantly like he was waiting for me to say something. When I didn't say anything, that damnable chuckle burbled from his throat again. Oh, come now. There's always a way to pay. Beside me, the driver's side window exploded into a sharp hailstorm of biting broken glass. I didn't have time to scream before a hand clamped over my mouth. I felt a pinch in my neck, and the last thing I heard before the world went dark was Walter Robosa's insidious chuckle. I awoke first to the cold, pale light of fluorescent tubes, and then, as my senses returned, to their incessant buzz. I didn't know where I was, but I was surrounded by white. Sterile white walls and a clean white floor. No features, no cabinets, no windows, no doors that I could see. I had no sense of how long I'd been out. Couldn't move anything. As I explored my situation, I discovered that my hands and feet were bound to a wheelchair, and I was gagged by a stiff, bitter cloth. A woman in white scrubs and a doctor's coat inspected me, shining light into my eyes, checking my pulse, looking at everything she could without undoing my restraints. She would check a body part and then scribble notes on a form attached to a clipboard. I tried communicating to her as best I could, but she avoided my eyes and remained silent the entire time. When she was finished, she left just as silently. I waited, screaming into the gag. I screamed until my throat went raw. At last, a door clicked open behind me, accompanied by the clacking of hard-soled shoes. Ah, I see you're awake, Robosa said. He moved around the front of the wheelchair, his hands in his pockets, and studied me with a crooked grin. Doctor says you check out. You're gonna be with us for a long, long time. He disappeared behind me and turned me around to the door. I thought I'd show you around before we say goodbye. You've gone through a lot of changes this week, but don't worry, all that's coming to an end. He pushed me into a stark hallway with the same blank white walls and immaculate white floors. The bright fluorescent light was almost blinding. We passed by dozens of rooms, each one containing a single person. Some of them contained doctors performing surgery, others contained welders fixing joints in metal frames. However, many simply held a person chained to a desk, typing away on a computer. There's always work to do. The organization is just so busy. I know it sounds ridiculous, but they have me handcuffed to a desk, filling out spreadsheet after spreadsheet of data. There are armed guards patrolling the halls, and I've already heard someone get shot. Robosa told me that this is my home now. I work for Erasure Solutions, helping whatever larger goal they have. I've tried to understand the data they've given me, but I think they only give me pieces of it. But as far as I can tell, it's big. They seem to be across the globe, influencing policies large and small. But no matter what they're doing, I know that my story is done. They've swallowed me into theirs. I'll die here at this desk. I'll never see the sun again. The only light I'll see is the harsh white of the fluorescent fingers raking across the ceiling and the lifeless LEDs of the computer screen. If it becomes too much, I'll act out, and then others down the hall will hear a gunshot too. They'll clean the room and get it ready for the next person. They'll erase me completely. Then they'll wipe the slate clean. Thank you for sharing my nightmares and helping me carry the grief. If you enjoy the show, please share your favorite nightmare with a friend or family member. Don't forget to leave a rating. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. If you'd like to go the extra mile, you can join my Patreon for $3 a month and you can cancel at any time. Or you can buy my book on Amazon. I've put links to both in the description. I'd love to connect with you on Instagram, Facebook, or Threads. Just look for Nightmares and Grief and you'll find me. Thank you for sharing this time with me. Good night.